All right. Now joining the show, we've got a very special guest. One of the July goals is getting knocked out today with this interview. Wisconsin wrestling commit Braxton Amos. Braxton, what's going on, man?
Just hanging out. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pumped to get you on. We just had your future teammate Trent Hilger. He was on last episode, so
Awesome.
kind of works out. We got double Badgers, so I'm a fan of that. But
Yeah.
how you been living right now? Getting ready to go to college. How you feeling?
I've it's been all right. I've been up in Madison for it's been a year and a month now.
Nice,
Uh so it's been good.
nice. So do you miss? So you're a West Virginia guy. Do you miss being home, or is Madison gonna be your home for the foreseeable future? You think?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love getting back home to West Virginia, I've kind of fallen in love with Wisconsin and Madison. It's crazy because you can have the luxuries of being in a big city and then drive 30 minutes out of town and you're in cornfields like you know out in the country where I think I belong. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, growing up, were you a Mountaineers fan at all?
yeah,
Football, all sports, pretty much.
mainly Mountaineer football, just
Okay.
because I mean, growing up in West Virginia, you have really two options, either Mountaineers or the Thundering Herd, and everybody that isn't from Huntington roots on the Mountaineers. So
Yeah. Now I'm looking at. So I've got your top five from the recruiting process pulled up, and you got Virginia Tech, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. What did West Virginia not recruit hard enough to keep you in state, or what happened there? Because I feel like being a West Virginia kid, you'd want to wrestle for the Mountaineers.
yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a crazy story, honestly. So
Mhm.
I was really close with the coaches before the current staff,
Okay.
and so whenever it was the new staff came in, and they told me came to the house, did the whole recruiting home visit, and they're like, hey, we're a little tight on money right now for scholarships, and the kind of the crazy part is, and I didn't tell them until you know after I committed to Wisconsin and everything else.
Yep.
I knew most of the team, and I kind of knew what money everybody was on just from talking to the guys and doing some math. They had a lot more than one scholarship left on their budget. So
Really?
yeah, so they told me they're like, hey, with your grades and you being from West Virginia, we can get you like somewhere to either 40 or 60% scholarship. And if I had other schools tell me that, which
Mhm.
it is what it is when you're a top five school and you're like, hey, sorry, we have four national champs.
Yeah.
We don't have cash laying around. Like, all right, cool. But that's not the case there.
Yeah.
And I love some of the guys on the team, but you know it was just, I took it kind of as a slap in the face, and
That's crazy.
you know
Especially, I mean, you're top guy coming out of your class too. Like you'd figure they'd want to make the biggest sell to keep you in state and keep you home. Like, and especially because like you said, they're not at that Penn State, Oklahoma State, or Iowa State caliber where they've got four national champs in the room, or
right,
they've got guys that are qualifying for like they're guys in the Olympics every year. It's not that type of program.
right, yeah, and like that was kind of the how I took it was like, all right, that's fine and dandy, but don't I don't
Don't
want to
lie
hear
to
a
them.
word when I go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's no hard feeling. I mean, there was hard feelings, but
Yeah.
no hard feelings on your end when I beat your guy.
Do you find it how, especially as a wrestler, because I'm a big college wrestling fan, big college football fan, and I follow college basketball. Do you find how it? I think it's just real weird that sports like football, they're loading up with full scholarships. Basketball, pretty much the entire roster of guys, like nine of the 15 guys on the basketball roster are going to be full ride guys, and the rest are going to be partials. And then you look at like baseball and wrestling, and they get the bare minimum and have to just divide these scholarships up. I find that so weird with
I mean, even baseball can feel, I mean, everybody with baseball, everybody can at one point in time you can have a full lineup on the field on scholarship, which is, you know, I feel like that should be the bare minimum.
Wrestling,
the bare minimum should be 10 scholarships. That way, a brand new, say you want to start a team from scratch that's fully funded, you're like, all right, I can get the 10 best freshmen in America for a full scholarship and take them all the way through. You can't even do that right now because it's you can get 10 national champs and you have to explain to one, hey man, sorry, you're not on a full ride.
So I'm assuming, are you going to be on a full ride at Wisconsin?
Between academics and everything else, close enough to it. With NIL and everything going on, I'm not going to be paying very much, if any, when it's all said and done.
So I do want to get back to your recruiting because I'm a huge recruiting fan. I love hearing stories about it. But NIL bill gets passed. I talked, like I said, with Trent about it, and he's been in discussions with some apparel companies, talking with other companies about making a shoe because he's obviously got the big nickname. He's got the luscious gold hair. He's got that Thor nickname. So what's the Braxton Amos brand going to look like once everything gets ironed out with the NIL bill and you figure out where you're going to kind of land? Because I did see you're a Barstool guy too.
Yeah, so I feel like everybody's a Barstool athlete at this point.
Yeah,
which is really cool. I mean, it's cool to be, you see Portnoy, doing pizza reviews and ticking everybody off, which I find very entertaining and is awesome. Hilarious. Yeah, no, he's. I don't know him as a person, but like as an entertainer, he's freaking awesome. Anytime I see a video or something, I immediately stop whatever I'm doing. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch this for the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But as far as like my brand and everything like that goes, I don't know really where it is yet. Where I'm gonna wait and see where the NIL lands. And I'm working on getting shirts and like apparel out soon. Still working out contracts and all the legal and tech stuff. Yeah. We're working on the back end of things right now. Just trying to get things smoothed out and making sure that everything's good to go and no issues with the university or anyone.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to brag, but going back to Portnoy, I got a Portnoy retweet from the Stool Presidente with the NIL bill. I imagine you get, because you're a big name wrestler, you get good amount of social media buzz. That was the most I've ever gotten. When Portnoy retweets you, you don't realize how big that bump is. I was like, for like a day and a half, my phone was blowing up. I'm like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of weird. I'm not a real big social media, like, hey, let's tweet everything I'm thinking kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'll make a funny tweet every once in a while. I'll tweet at somebody I think that, is either did something good or did something bad. And then the Instagram posts, the Olympic trials got an Instagram post, me coming back.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, that seems pretty worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's always big stuff, it's never, man, I had some really good pizza today. Let's make a post about it. It's, and obviously I need to work on that because a company is not going to be like, he has 10 Instagram posts.
Right.
He's going to be real big for our company. So I'm working on that right now.
But now with the NIL bill, unless you don't want to give it away, what are the different company talks? Like, are you working with like a brand that's going to be doing food for you? Like, you'll be repping that, clothing?
I'm not really, I don't know if I'm allowed to say who or what yet, just because nothing is, finalized with any of it. But, I'm looking at, a meal prep place here in Madison that, a lot of the wrestlers go to already. And, they have a loyalty program that we've been with, since I heard about it. So, I mean, now it's just kind of taking a step further of, hey, be an ambassador for our company instead of, like a loyalty program member, which is kind of cool. I'm going to start reaching out this week to supplements and, hopefully try to get some cool ones that aren't necessarily wrestling related,
Yeah.
more related to, how my lifestyle and how I live, and, things I find fun. So hopefully I can get some stuff worked out there. And then the t-shirt company, I'm working with a guy that has worked with our program a lot, mainly our RTC a lot the last year or so during
Nice.
COVID. So it'll be good. I'm trying to get everything out as fast as possible, but at the same time make sure that I'm not opening myself up or anybody else up for legal or just getting
Yeah.
ripped off.
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So back to recruiting. Like I said, I love hearing like great stories from recruiting, and I love hearing horror stories. So the West Virginia one sounds like that one was a slap in the face. But do you have any? I know if you don't want to name drop teams or coaches, do you have any like legit bad ones? Because when Trent came on, he talked about I don't think he named the school or coach, but like for I think maybe football or wrestling, one of them, they wanted him to commit like on the spot without visiting. We had another kid on that's from Connecticut, a basketball player. VMI wanted him to commit on the spot, but they were like, also don't announce that you got the offer from us. So there's all types of stuff like that. I don't know if you've had an encounter in the world of recruiting like that.
Um, I've had similar things to Trent. I've had coaches, come to dinner, halfway through dinner go, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. Somebody else has committed to us at your weight. Um, you know, take it or leave it. Here's your offer.
Yep.
If you don't like it, I'm out the door. Thank you for dinner. Thank you for having me out. But we're gonna go with this kid. And that was my junior year, and I had said my parents and I sat down at the beginning of recruiting, and we're like, hey, listen, I'm gonna take unofficial visits my junior year. I'm gonna
Yep.
figure out what I like, what I don't like, get it down to my 5 official visits, and then take those. Do that. Uh, do the whole dog and pony show that every school does,
Yep.
which is fun, which is a lot of fun.
It
Um,
looks awesome. Like, I mean,
yeah,
what was there a certain school that like rolled the red carpet out better than one, even if it wasn't Wisconsin, but like you get there and it's everything you thought and above that.
I mean, everybody that I took a visit to really kind of rolled out everything they could for me. I just think, I fit in better here. Honestly, the coaches were brutally honest with me about what they expected and how they were going to, react to, this situation or, what things were going on and what things weren't going on. And,
Yeah.
it was the transparency there was awesome for me, especially, coming from the way that I was brought up of, hey, you're going to work hard for everything you get.
Mhm.
Um, you know, there are easier ways, but you're not going to take them
Yep.
because sooner or later it's going to catch up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm trying to think of ones that really rolled out the red carpet. Um,
Like with Wisconsin, was there a big thing that they did on the visit that kind of sold you, or at like what point did you realize that Wisconsin was the place? Was it on the visit? Was it after
yeah,
going
no,
on a
I
couple
mean,
visits that you realized Madison stood out more?
um, realistically, like by the time I took my visit to Madison, it was between them and Oklahoma State. Um, and I was leaning. One day I'd be, oh man, I'm a Cowboy. One day I'm like, all right, I'm going with Wisconsin, and I was back and forth until I took my visit to Wisconsin, and you come in, you're there for like 2 days, 2 nights, or
Mhm.
something. Maybe it's 2 days, one night is what I
Okay.
think what it was, and like halfway through it, I was like, dang,
This is where I want to be.
yeah. I was with Trent, and I was, I forget where we were going. It was after the football game, and he was like, "Hey, nobody else is here. It's me and you." And Trent and I have known each other since, I think, man, I was in elementary school. I think Trent was in middle school, and he was like, "Are you coming or not?" Like,
Yeah.
either way, we're still going to be friends. I just want to know that way, you know, we don't have to have the awkwardness for the rest of the night of, man, I wonder if he's coming or not. And I was like,
right.
Like, don't tell anybody else, but yeah, I'm in. Let's make it happen. And then, you know, when I got out of Madison, went home, I was like, all right, mom, dad, you know, I think this is the place. And then, you know, fast forward, geez, now almost 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
It's turned out pretty good so far.
Now, I do want to kind of touch. So you were between Wisconsin and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
My producer and I, Brett, he's actually flying out to Fargo for it this
Okay.
I think on Wednesday he's flying out or Thursday morning. But so we're huge college wrestling fans, and our guy this year was the 197 down in Oklahoma State, AJ Ferrari. But
yeah.
So we talked about it a little before we taped a segment before we did this interview this morning, and I was like, I mean, when they wrestle each other, because that's the match that I think everybody's hoping to see is you versus AJ. I'm like, I've got to be a Braxton guy because he's coming on the show. We tried to get AJ on, and Oklahoma State wouldn't let him come on. But I think our producer Brett's gonna be riding with Ferrari. But a match like that's gonna be almost a super match because you guys aren't in the same conference. You guys will probably meet at some point when it comes down to NCAAs. Like a match like that, what will that kind of mean to you?
I mean, it's the same old thing. You know, it's somebody I got to wrestle. Like, I mean, it's the same right now as it is, you know, in high school, as the same as it will be when him and I are trying to make Olympic teams.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, in high school it was, hey, for a while he was number one at 195. I was number one at 220. Let's make something happen. And it never did, which, you know, it is what it is. It kind of sucks because, you know, the companies that were trying to get us to do it, you know, whether it be, you know, for who's number one or, you know, something charitable like Beat the Streets, you know, it just never worked out. And I think we could have made a lot of people a lot of money doing that, but, you know, sooner or later it's going to happen. You know, him and I are both going to be 97 kilos until, you know, until it's not a weight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether he goes 197 or 285 this year, who knows? You know, if it happens, great. If not, oh well.
I kind of hate how calm you are about this because of how excited I am thinking about the two
like
meeting on the
internally. I'm excited. You know, it's something to train for. It's someone to go after, but you know, it's wrestling.
Yeah.
You know,
get that.
You know, I've been in a practice room with Kyle Snyder. You know, I've worked out with Jaden Cox. I've wrestled in a competition and in the practice room with Colin Moore. So, you know, those are three guys that are better than AJ and I both. Yeah. I mean, the results showed it at the Olympic trials. You know, those guys were better than us. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, just another name on a list somewhere that, you know, eventually it's going to happen and eventually we'll figure out, you know, who's the best.
No, what are your thoughts? Not even just like on like so a guy like an AJ Ferrari or a Gable Stevenson, not even them as like the individuals, but the personalities they have. Do you think that's a good thing for wrestling to see guys that they're showmen when they wrestle? They bring the theatrics when they're wrestling. They'll celebrate mid-match. They'll do a big celebration when it's over, and they're passionate guys. Do you think that's gonna help the sport of wrestling and when you try to get eyes on the sport?
Yeah, I mean, listen, AJ was trending. AJ and Gable were both trending on Twitter at NCAA's. You know, not wrestling Twitter, like actual Twitter.
Yeah, actual Twitter.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I think, is it good for growing the sport? Yes. You know, am I someone to make, you know, mid-match celebrations or, you know, a big show after I win? No, but you know, it's different for everybody. But as far as growing the sport, as far as the social media aspect, yeah, I think it's huge for the sport to have guys like that.
Yep.
You know, I'm just going to grow it in my own little way.
I like that. So, like I said, Brett, our producer Brett, he's flying out to Fargo. So I listened to you a little bit on the anti-bullying podcast you had done, and you talked about Fargo just being the absolute, like the Wild West weather-wise, and how it's just the oddest place in America. So
yeah,
let the listeners know a little bit about that Fargo experience, just wrestling there, because it's pretty much, for a high schooler, it's about the biggest stage you can
Yeah.
get on,
Yeah.
and just the being out there with your teammates, friends, and family.
Yeah. So Fargo, it's kind of crazy. Normally it's a pretty small little, I guess you'd call it a city, in North
It's
Dakota.
barely a city, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then, 1 week out of every year, just the baddest high school kids in the country and, some of the baddest dudes in the world show up and figure out who's the best at in freestyle and Greco.
Yeah.
And I was privileged enough to experience it with my family. My mom and dad were, could make it out to watch me, and I just, without them being there some of the time, I would have probably gone crazy, especially those first couple of years. I mean, when you're 15, 16 years old and, you have a tight match or like halfway through a match, you're in the middle of a meltdown and you can
Yep.
kind of, you can hear your parents' voice. You're like, all right, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yep.
And I mean, just going out and representing something other, cause you're always representing your high school, and when you're wrestling in high school, because, that's really where all the big competition is. Everybody dreams of being a state champ when you're growing up. So representing, the state was big for me because of how small the state was, and how underrepresented it is some years out there.
Yep. And so the experience out there outside of wrestling, you're staying in the hotels there. Like, what is that like, especially if you're trying to cut weight? How are you kind of dealing with it being in and I know you've traveled around for different tournaments, but like I said, Fargo's kind of I always say it's kind of like the Mecca, the holy grail of high school wrestling, because it's the most recognizable, I think, tournament and destination when it comes to high school wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely different because, I mean, most of the teams stay in dorms. The
Okay.
dorms are AC'd. It's 100 and some degrees outside most of the time. So I mean, it's cutting weight for me was never an issue there, just because making 220 in high school is easy.
Yep.
That's why I'm going 97 now. But so I mean, weight wasn't never an issue, but it was always an issue of like, all right, how do I drink enough water to still be hydrated, but also not drink, a gallon of water is 8 pounds. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
How do I drink enough to not die on the walking to and from, breakfast, lunch, dinner, to competition, to practice, because you're walking everywhere.
Right.
Like, how do I do that without necessarily, tanking my weight? So, I mean, that part was tough, but like the actual wrestling part was fun, just because it was, you're there, you're in dorms with, with West Virginia, usually 20 or so other guys from your state, usually the top guys from your state.
Nice. That's
it,
awesome.
it was fun. I still talk to some of the guys now.
That sounds like an awesome experience.
Yeah.
And then so you're a Fargo champ. So what's the legit main stage there? What's that feeling when you're coming out to wrestle in the Fargo finals?
Kind of crazy,
I can imagine that. I can.
Any kids that are going to be in the finals that are listening, don't look up when you're walking out to the stage. The light, they tell you that, and you're like, all right, yeah, sure. No, the light is very bright and will blind you. You ever look at the sun? That's kind of how it feels. Sorry.
That would be your biggest advice to any potential finalist at Fargo, is just don't look up.
Don't look at the light, and shout out to my dude Chris Foca, but don't trip up the stairs. Those are the only two things. But it's fun because a lot of people don't get to wrestle on a stage hardly ever. A lot of other big, like Iron Man, Powerade. I'm trying to think, Super 32, they all don't have stages. So, Fargo's kind of the stage is kind of the big thing going on there, as far as, don't lose on the stage or else everybody's going to see it.
Yeah. So a big thing, we talked a little bit about how cutting weight was never an issue for you, but do you have kind of your end of season? I know you're probably wrestling mostly year round. But do you have like when you have that little break, your cheat meal or your like splurge meal that you really will go kind of all in on?
Um, Honestly, some Taco Bell.
Taco
Taco
Bell?
Bell slaps. Yeah.
No, no.
So
What's your
like,
order there? What are you going with?
oh man. Ooh, I don't know if I should put that on video. Let me think.
Just list off the menu for you.
Yeah, pretty much. It's couple soft tacos, nacho bel grande
Hmm.
with extra beef and cheese, and then like a crunch wrap or something like that. Usually,
Good. I mean,
um,
especially with the amount like for wrestling you're working out. I mean, that's got to be a nice treat for you.
oh
When you get
yeah,
some time off.
I mean, it's not like I'm not eating now. I
Right.
eat, probably 3 4 times a day. It's just I hardly ever like eat something greasy.
Yep.
So, like every once in a while, if my weight's good and like I had a hard practice, um, I sometimes go over and get a taco or something.
Yep.
It's it is what it is. I probably shouldn't do it, but it keeps me sane. So, oh well.
You're the first of the because we've had a couple other Division 1 wrestling guys on. You're the first one that hasn't said ice cream. That's always the big one. Is they're always like
Yeah.
they'll list like pizza or burgers or something, but then they always come back to like, oh, and I could take out a tub of ice cream. I could kill a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Like,
Yeah, I'm not really a big sweets guy.
okay,
You know, Halloween kind of sucked because I don't like chocolate and I don't eat a whole lot of candy. So
really,
yeah,
that's that. You maybe the only kid that didn't like Halloween. That's crazy.
yeah. No, I still liked Halloween. Don't get me wrong. And
Yeah.
the dressing up part was fun, but just the trick or treat, it was fun because I got to hang out with friends. But
Mhm.
like the actual like candy part, I was just kind of like, I'll give it to my sister. Give it to my parents. I was like, I'll take the Twizzlers. But
What's your most memorable costume that you have from dressing up? Is it
oh,
something as a kid
jeez.
or like something you had in high school?
Trying to think. Let me think of the ones in high. So like Super 32 was always not Thanksgiving. Jeez, was always Halloween time.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think. I want to say like my freshman or sophomore year, I dressed up as a cow with udders. That was my costume to a Halloween party, it was a hit. Don't get me wrong. The people liked it.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. If I can find a picture, I'll send it to you. But it was very cringy, but also kind of a hit. I don't even know whose party it was. I just they just told me like, hey, there's a costume party. I was like, be a cow.
Yeah, I know you're like I know what I got. I
Yeah,
know
I was like,
I know it's gonna hit.
I know one. I know a costume.
That's
But
awesome. I love that, dude. So, you wrestle to try to make the USA freestyle team. You get a tough draw, like you had mentioned a guy before, Colin Moore in the first
yeah,
round. It's never an easy guy to pull.
no,
Let alone first round too.
right.
So mindset going in there, like you said, I know you've got that mindset where it's another day, it's another guy
Yeah,
I'm wrestling, but
yeah. I mean, it's I wasn't supposed to make the trials
mhm,
for freestyle or Greco, so I walked in. I was like, you know what, I'm already here. I might as well keep it going. What's another? I think Colin's U23 world medalist. I was like, all right, let's see how it goes. It didn't turn out great for me, but
yeah.
you just got to walk out there and throw everything you got at it and see if something sticks.
And then so Greco seems to be your style, the one you probably I think the one you look the most comfortable in, I'm imagining feel most comfortable with. And you come wicked close to making the team. You lose to Hancock. Going into that finals match and then after like the result of it, how did you feel? Like how were you able to kind of rally after losing that match? What was just your whole mindset?
Um, my whole mindset going into it was mainly, because like I said earlier, I wasn't supposed to be there.
Mhm.
You know, I now think I deserved to be there, obviously. But going into it, I was kind of looking around like, all right, there's an Olympic champ, there's a world medalist, there's a world medalist. You know, oh my God, it's Jordan Burroughs. Holy crap, it's Kyle. That, you know, guys I'd grown up like looking up to, and you know, I'd have been in the practice room with a few of them, but never, you know, I never viewed myself anywhere near the same, you know, same playing field. And then, you know, I win my first match. I was like, all right, you know, I caught him. You know, I did good. I won a match. You know,
Yep.
good job. And then it happened again, and then again. I was like, all right, you know,
Keep the train rolling.
yeah. I was like, I could pull this off. All right. And then, you know, after the loss to D'Angelo, you know, it kind of sucked. Just because, you know, even if you didn't expect to be in that spot, you know what's on the line at that point. You know,
Yeah.
If I had pulled 2 upsets, you know, I'm going to Tokyo next week. That's not bad, you know.
No, that's definitely awesome.
Yeah, so you know, it sucked a lot, and I mean, my coaches can, you know, testify to this. I just wanted to go home at that point. You know, I texted. You know, I got back to Madison. They were on the flight after me out of Dallas, and I texted them when I landed. I was like, hey. Yeah, I'm going home. I'll see you guys in a week. If you don't hear back, I'm probably in the woods. You know, I just wanted to go home and just get away from everything for a little bit. And, you know, once I, you know, go home, go have my little, you know, pity party and celebration all at the same time for, you know, I made the national team. You know, that's not bad for a 19-year-old at the time. So,
no,
you know, went home, saw some family, and then, you know, I came back to Madison. It was time for work. You know, I had to get ready for junior world team trials, you know, a month later.
So can you confirm that you did not end up in the woods? I'm just trying to make sure that we get on the same page.
Oh, no, I went to the woods for a little bit.
Okay.
I went to the woods for a day. You know, I had every time I go home, I make it a point to try to get in the woods at least, you know, half a day or so. You know, shoot a little bit of guns, and you know, it's just everybody has their own way to relax, and mine's just sitting behind a rifle, I guess.
Nice. I like that. Braxton, you've been awesome. So happy we could get you on here. One question we always ask before we finish up to any athlete or coach. So you got time for 3 songs right before a match. You got the headphones on. What are we going with? What are we going with?
One of them's definitely Country Roads.
Okay.
That's kind of my go-to walkout song, and I mean that started at Fargo, my first year out there.
I'm assuming you've been to some of the games. My dad went down to one game when they played Syracuse in the 90s when like Donovan McNabb was the quarterback at Syracuse. I think he said West Virginia like upsets him, but he said he got goosebumps when they sang Country Roads. He goes, I have never been a part of a sporting experience like that. He goes, I don't think I ever will be again, like unless we get back down there. And I'm like, that just sounds unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy how you know, the entire stadium stays and, you know, sings. You know, it's similar to Jump Around Here.
Yeah.
You know, everybody jumps, everybody sings along. But it's just different because, I mean, West Virginia, there's, you know, 1.5 million people in the entire state. You know, the county that Madison's in is, you know, 600,000. So half of West Virginia can fit inside the county I live in right now.
So you're confirming Country Roads is better than Jump Around. All right.
Whoa, that'll get me shot. They're about, I would say, the same.
They're on the same playing field. You'll put them as tier 1A and like tier 1B, kind of.
They're both just tier 1.
All right. Covering all your bases right now.
I'm trying to get the Wisconsin people to like me, not hate me. So, I'm trying to think. The other two. Let me just look at my phone and see.
You got your pregame playlist.
Yeah. Let me look real quick.
It's a tough one. I love kind of throwing this question in because it always catches the people off guard. So I love hearing the like people trying to scramble, look through their playlist.
Yeah.
Now, will Country Roads be your walkout music at in Wisconsin?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, realistically, yes.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, unless I've always kind of said, talk to my parents. Like, even if I get away from it, I'm still gonna, yeah, no, probably it'll probably be Country Roads, especially
Mhm.
like early into my career.
Gotcha.
Just because that's kind of how I identify with everybody right now is, oh, you're the kid from West Virginia. Like, yeah, that's me.
How
I
common
have a name, but
how common do you get, or how often do you get asked, like, when people figure out you're from West Virginia, when does Country Roads come up in the conversation?
um, not very often, honestly. It's
Really?
kind of it's kind of a well kept secret. Back home, as far as I mean, it's always like, and it's annoying, but it's always like, oh, so you like your sister, huh? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, no, that's not West Virginia.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not gonna throw shade at my other southern states, but that's not us.
I was gonna say it's weird that West Virginia got labeled like gets lumped in
Yeah,
with like Alabama, Mississippi.
yeah. I'm like, what the? I mean, no offense to Alabama and Mississippi, they're also great states,
You're
but
just
like, I don't
covering
know
all your
why.
bases right now. You're super
Yeah,
safe. You won't throw
yeah.
shade.
I mean, listen, maybe there's a company in Alabama or Louisiana or Tennessee or somewhere that says like, hey, we maybe want to sponsor this kid, and they're like, oh, he said some bad stuff about Tennessee. He said some bad stuff about my state.
Oh
When
man.
someone's talking trash in West Virginia, I automatically am like, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah. Watch
So
out. Watch out.
yeah. Um, Man.
No, are you like a rock guy? Like overall music wise, are you rock, rap? Like, what's your genre?
Well, let me just. So we go from Eric Church
Okay.
to Hank Williams Jr.
Nice.
to Morgan Wallen,
Okay. I'm seeing a theme here.
right, to DMX.
See, like DMX, when it comes to like a pregame playlist, I don't even count that as like a genre. Like I don't even think of him as rap. I think of DMX as pump up music. Like that is
Yeah.
pure. It's piss and vinegar, make you angry, make you pumped up. Like,
Yeah.
it's the greatest. He's the greatest. Like just I think artist. Like if you hear it at a sports game anywhere, you're gonna get fired up if you hear
Yeah. I
DMX.
mean, so honestly, if I had to pick three, it'd be Country Roads, Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls,
Oh, awesome
and
song.
anything by DMX. Anything that he wrote or sang.
Mhm.
That's made to that historically has been played to get people hyped up, or would
That
probably be
that
my
might be
three.
my favorite lineup of songs that we've had because so like whenever you get like a basketball player on, it's a lot of rap. Baseball, you get a good amount of country. That might
Yeah,
be my favorite there because I'm a big Metallica guy too. So hearing
yeah,
that is it's definitely refreshing and nice to hear. You get a mix of all three country, rock, and rap pretty much.
yeah. And I mean I'll listen to some pop and all that, but
Mhm.
for the most part it's either country, rock, or rap.
No, like when you're flying, do you have a certain like do you have certain songs that you listen to kind of fall asleep? Are you like a podcast guy on the planes or
On plane, like, so it's kind of weird. Like with planes, I'll either download movies and just play them, or read a book. Um, and then I'll play some country music, but for the most part, I'll just like put my earbuds on noise cancel and go to sleep.
nice.
Yeah,
That's pretty talented, I won't lie, to just pass out with nothing on. Like
yeah,
I need a little bit of noise to fall asleep. Like I downloaded a playlist off Apple where it's just all like water crashing against rocks, like stuff like that. I need something like that to fall asleep. So I give you a lot of credit for just being able to knock
yeah.
out with
I
nothing.
mean, it was kind of my superpower in high school. I can fall asleep just about any.
That's awesome.
It's kind of funny. Like at Powerade, I fell asleep in the bleachers. They wake me up. They're like, "Hey, you're up in 4 matches." So I was like, "Oh, great, thanks." Like national tournament, like nobody cared to wake me up. Like
Yeah.
when it was at like 170, like,
Yeah, so you can
more
work
than a
out,
few
get
matches out. Like, no,
splash
like,
some
hey,
water
you're
on
up
your
in
face.
four. Yeah, I'm like, all right, let's, time to go, I guess. But yeah, no, kind of falling asleep anywhere is kind of my
Your
go-to.
biggest talent. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, Braxton, I appreciate getting you on. Hopefully, get you on maybe around mid-season or once your college season ends at some point. But definitely want to talk to you again.
Yeah, definitely.
Social media, where can people find you so they can see your 10 Instagram posts, your one every few months?
Yeah, so Instagram and Twitter are both just the Braxton Amos.
Nice.
Yeah,
Any companies that listen to this and need a college wrestler, go sponsor this guy.
yeah. Hit me up, either DM or reach out somehow and get a hold of me. I'd love to do some work with y'all.
Awesome. Thanks, Braxton. And thank you for listening to this episode of the My Parents Office podcast. Stay tuned for our episode coming out this Thursday. Thank you.